I still remember the way she said it, calm, certain, and colder than winter rain. "I just don't feel like being touched anymore," she whispered, her back turned, eyes fixed on the glow of her phone. After 8 years of marriage, that sentence landed like a blade. Her name was Lena, and once upon a time she couldn't stand a day without wrapping her arms around me. We used to spend weekends tangled on the couch laughing about nothing, but lately, she had become a ghost in her own house. Her laughter stopped echoing. Her perfume stopped lingering. Her warmth, gone. I thought maybe it was stress, work hormones, something temporary. But weeks became months, and every attempt to reconnect ended in the same quiet rejection. "I'm just not in that headspace, okay?" She'd sigh, moving away from my hand as if my touch burned, and I'd nod, pretending I understood. Because what else could I do? I stopped trying after a while. The distance between us became routine, she on her phone, me on mine. We lived like polite strangers who shared bills and a bed no one used. That's when Hannah started visiting more often. She was Lena's best friend, bold, outspoken, the kind of woman who filled every silence with laughter. She had known us since college. Back then I thought of her as the mischievous one, always teasing Lena, always pushing boundaries. When she started dropping by, I assumed it was out of concern. Maybe she saw how cold things had gotten between us. Maybe she pitied me. "Hey, you look half alive," she joked one evening, tossing her bag on the chair. "Just tired," I said, forcing a smile. "Yeah? Or maybe emotionally starved?" I laughed it off, but the way she looked at me, it wasn't playful. It lingered. That night, Lena came home late, barely acknowledged either of us, and disappeared into the bedroom. Hannah stayed, sipping wine, watching the hallway. "You deserve better, you know," she said softly. I didn't answer. Over the next few weeks, she became a regular guest, always showing up when Lena wasn't around or was about to leave. Sometimes she brought dinner, sometimes just conversation. "You've lost weight," she remarked once, her fingers brushing my wrist as she handed me a plate. "Yeah, stress does that," I muttered. She didn't move her hand for a moment, neither of us spoke. The air was heavy, charged, dangerous. I pulled away first, but she didn't stop. Flirting turned into tension, tension into temptation. Then one evening, it happened. Lena had just texted me she'd be staying at her sister's for the weekend. Hannah dropped by with a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. "Consider this an intervention," she smiled. "An intervention for what?" "For loneliness." We drank, talked about old times, how Lena used to be, how things had changed. At some point she leaned closer, her perfume, something citrusy and sharp, cutting through the whiskey haze. "She's crazy to treat you this way," she whispered. "Do you know how many women would kill to be touched by someone who still looks at them the way you do her?" I looked up, confused, unsure whether she was comforting or confessing. Then she placed her hand on my chest. "I always wanted to," she said, my breath caught. The world went still. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the faint sound of rain outside, and my heart pounding like it wanted out. I should have stopped her. I should have pulled back. But after months of silence, neglect, and rejection, her touch felt like oxygen. The rest happened too quickly. When it was over, I sat there, breathless, guilty, and oddly hollow. Hannah rested her head against my shoulder like it was the most natural thing in the world. Outside, the rain kept tapping against the window, as if it wanted to remind me that nothing stays hidden forever. She smiled faintly, tracing circles on my arm. "You don't have to feel bad," she murmured. It's not like she cares anymore. But I did feel bad. Deep down, I knew I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. For the next few days, I moved through life like someone walking underwater. Lena returned Sunday evening, cheerful in that distant, detached way she'd perfected. She kissed me on the cheek, a meaningless gesture, and started unpacking her bag. "How was your weekend?" I asked, trying to sound normal. "Peaceful," she said simply. She didn't notice the faint change in me. Or maybe she did and just didn't care. Hannah texted me 2 days later. "Can we talk?" I ignored it. Then another came. "I miss you." I deleted the messages, but guilt clung to me like a second skin. Every time I looked at Lena, I wondered what she'd do if she knew. Maybe she'd laugh. Maybe she'd shrug. But fate, it seems, doesn't wait for your permission to destroy what's left. A week later, I came home early from work. The house was unusually quiet. Lena wasn't in the living room, but I could hear faint voices coming from upstairs. her voice and someone else's. I climbed the stairs, heart racing, mind spinning through possibilities I didn't want to believe. The door to our bedroom was slightly ajar. I pushed it open just enough to see her sitting on the bed, phone on speaker. She was talking to Hannah. I froze. "I think he suspects something," Lena said, her tone casual. My blood turned to ice. "What did you expect?" Hannah replied. "You've been distant for months." "Yeah, well, that was the plan. I needed to make him desperate. I wanted to see how long before he'd break." There was a short silence. Then Hannah laughed softly. "And he did break," she said. Lena's lips curved into a smirk. "Oh, I know. He thinks I don't know what he did." My throat went dry. Every nerve in my body went still. They'd planned it. The distance, the rejection, the manipulation. It was all a test, Lena continued, her voice dripping with amusement. "I told you, if he ever cheated even once, I'd have all the reason I need to end this on my terms. He gave me exactly what I needed." I stepped back, my foot brushing against the doorframe. The sound made her turn. Our eyes met. For a moment, the world stopped spinning. "Ryan," she said, her face a mask of mock surprise. I didn't speak. I just stared. At the woman I'd loved. At the betrayal layered over betrayal. Hannah's voice came through the phone, faint but clear. "So he heard?" Lena ended the call. "Guess you finally found your courage," she said, standing up slowly. "Too bad it came too late." My voice cracked. "You used me," she tilted her head. "You made it easy. There was nothing left to say." I walked out, not because I wanted to, but because staying would have meant drowning. That night I drove aimlessly for hours. Streetlights blurred into golden streaks, my mind replaying every smile, every lie, every touch. By the time I stopped at the edge of the old pier, the whiskey on my breath matched the bitterness in my chest. It wasn't just the cheating that broke me. It was realizing how precisely it had been orchestrated. Weeks passed. Divorce papers followed. She got what she wanted. The house, the sympathy, the clean image. But sometimes, late at night, I still think of Hannah's last words before everything fell apart. "I always wanted to." Maybe she did. Maybe they both did. Not out of desire, but out of control. And me? I learned that betrayal doesn't always start with a lie. Sometimes it starts with someone saying they won't touch you, and meaning every word for a reason you never saw coming.